Hello everyone and welcome back to Rewrite. The next day, class rep comes to school. Her hands are hidden under the same white gloves as usual, but somehow she seems a lot sadder.
おはよう、委員長。具合大丈夫？
だいぶ辛そうですね。無理しないで今日も休めばいいのに。
Since they don't know what happened last night, her sad expression probably makes it look like she's sick. Kotori and Chihaya ask her if she is, but class rep ignores them. No, it looks like she can't hear them. Do her hands still make flowers wilt? I've stopped investigating now, so hopefully Asahi Haruka will undo her curse. But the only way to check is to make her hold another flower. If it doesn't wilt, that's fine. But if it does, then that cruel reality might shatter class rep's heart. Which means what class rep said yesterday was right. This is no different from before. She'll avoid touching anything, just as she always has, letting everyone think she's a clean freak. Actually, maybe she's lucky it was only her hands. I hear a dry sound, not the sound of a light breaking. Chihaya was trying to check if class rep had a fever. That sound was class rep slapping her hand away.
不潔だから。私に触るな。ああ、そうですか。それはすみません。
ちょっと、ちーちゃん、委員長もダメだよ、仲直りしたのに。
Everything's back to the way it was. I went to all that trouble to understand class rep, get her to open up, and get her and Chihaya to be friends again. I thought I was helping her overcome her painful past. And now, all of that progress has been wiped out. Chihaya snaps at class rep. Kuradi tries to calm them down. Class rep remains locked away from the rest of the world. If anything, she looks worse than she did before. I try to help her. What the hell have I been doing these last few days? All of it was a waste. I should never have pursued the Asahi Haruka story.
どうなってやがる。あいつら仲直りしたはずじゃなかったのか。
Yoshino, I'm sorry.
ああ
About Asahi Haruka, I've got some stuff I need to do, so I won't be investigating it anymore. He probably never thought I'd say that. Yoshino's eyes open wide, but he soon returns to his usual sulking expression.
ま、それで正解だぜ。世の中には本物の呪いってのが存在するってことも分かっただろうが。
It's not a curse, I just don't have the time to investigate it anymore. She didn't scare me off or anything.
どうだかな。
I don't sound very persuasive. I did stop because of Asahi Haruka's threat, so it's not that different from being scared of.
こんなことならてめえに連絡網なんか貸すんじゃなかったぜ。
That helped a lot, thank you.
懐かしき俺のフレンドたちはどうだった？みんな
Pretty good, until I brought up Asahi Haruka. That's right, there was one guy I couldn't contact. The phone said his number wasn't in use anymore.
ああ、和田か。あいつは最近引っ越したからな。どうする？引っ越し先の新居にまで電話してみるか。一応番号は知ってるぞ。
What would that accomplish? I've given up on the investigation anyway. No, it's okay, I'm done now. Even if I did call him, he just says some glass broke and it's all my fault.
違いね。
Yoshino laughs, mocking me, then turns away. After that, it's just like any other morning at school. The only unusual thing is, class rep and Chihaya are still unhappy with each other. No, maybe that is normal for them. I need to avoid Asahi Haruka and class rep from now on. All I did was screw everything up. The purple mark Asahi Haruka left on my arm still aches, as if blaming me for this. After a full night of sleep, it hasn't faded in the slightest. Even after 4 hours, Baraki-senpai's mark only got a bit lighter. Mine won't go away anytime soon. Can I do anything besides pray that someday class rep will be able to take her gloves off? Class rep shows tears from time to time as she and Chihaya continue fighting. Whenever another girl tries to mediate, she starts telling them not to touch her because they're filthy, so she makes enemies with everyone.
私を受け入れることなんて誰にもできないんだ。だから構うな。私に構うな。
Why are you saying such sad things? I play with my phone without thinking, looking through my call history. The numbers of the Class 1 alumni are all listed there. There's no way, right? That one last person, for some reason, I want to check. I'm such an idiot. I told Asahi Haruka I surrendered, but I still don't want to give up. But I'll check this one last thing, then I really will stop. After school, I visited a certain apartment. I'd never met the old couple that lives there. And of course, they had no idea who I was. They gave me answers to some of my questions. They told me everything I needed to know. Sunday. I ride a bicycle down a forest path. I stop and check my GPS location with my phone. New phones really can do everything. This thing's getting me to my destination much faster than the old one. It's telling me I'm here already, but since I'm in a dense forest, it's hard to be sure. This area is a huge natural park. It's managed by Kasamatsuri City's Forest Protection Administration. Despite being a thick forest, it does get pruned and weeded regularly, so it's pretty nice. Of course, even though it's a park, there aren't any swings or slides here, much less shops and vending machines. But there are paths for walking or cycling, streetlights, bathrooms and benches. There's even a map and an emergency phone here. Nature and people live in harmony here. It's a good example of Kasamatsuri City. But the area I'm in right now is pretty deep in, very far from the popular routes. There's a certain amount of natural filth, making it obvious very few people walk by here. It even feels lonely. I've been biking for about an hour to get here from my home. I'm finally nearing my destination. The GPS says I'm at the right place, and the map doesn't show anything here. A blank place in a huge park. However, a few decades ago, part of this land was lent for free to a certain welfare group, for the purpose of building an orphanage. A facility for children who had lost all their relatives. By coincidence, the old couple happened to have the voice recorder that Baraki-senpai used on that day 4 years ago. I guess Awada ended up with it somehow. The recorder still had all the strange events from the reunion, but it also had a huge hint. Santa Brosia. What? That was the name of the orphanage Kishida Ryogo came from. Ah. One of the people answering his questions very clearly stated that name. The name of the orphanage Asahi Haruka went to. Once I knew the name, it was easy to find it on the internet. Should be around here. Then I find an old sign worn down by wind and rain. It says, "This is private property, no trespassing." It's different from all the other signs in the park. This sign wasn't made by Kasamatsuri City, it's probably from the group that ran the orphanage. Now that I'm sure this is the right place, I bike a little farther on until I find a metal fence with ivy all over it. The fence blocks the path, a heavy padlock keeps it shut. But wilted ivy curls all around it, so it clearly hasn't been opened in several months, if not years. It's completely sealed now. I had a vague hope that I might find someone here who could tell me what happened. But according to the ghost story, the orphanage was ruined. So this definitely looks like the right place. And there should be an abandoned orphanage past this fence. I leave my bike next to a tree, jump onto the fence and climb over it. I hadn't climbed a fence since I was a little kid. Once I get over the fence, I'm on a part of the path that hasn't been maintained in a very long time. The rest of the park, despite being natural, is maintained by people. But from here on, it's just a wasteland no human hand has touched in years. The forest already feels gloomier. The map on my phone has no landmarks anymore. I'll just have to find my way around on my own now. I harden my resolve and set off into the forest. After walking along the abandoned path for a while, I run into another fence. It's completely different from the previous one. This is kinda overkill. Is this really an orphanage? This time the fence is so high I have to look up to see the top. In fact, it bends over at the top, as if leaning forward to intimidate me, and it has barbed wire. And there are some more signs, none of which look appropriate for an orphanage. Danger. Trespassing here may endanger your health. Hazardous industrial waste site. Do not enter. I've never seen a sign with a skull and crossbones in real life before. Is this really an orphanage? I check the GPS again. I search the internet and make sure these really are the right coordinates. According to the Kasamatsuri City database, this land was reserved for an orphanage. So what's going on? Did some company repurpose this land for waste disposal? That seems like something the news would have a field day with, but it doesn't connect to Asahi Haruka's story. Was Santa Ambrosia even the right place? Will this whole trip turn out to be a massive waste of my time? Still, I spent over an hour getting here. I can't go home without finding out for sure. The signs about toxic waste are pretty scary, but for some reason, they feel more like Asahi Haruka warning me to stay away from the truth. Somehow, I don't think there is any industrial waste beyond this fence. There should be a ruined orphanage. And it holds some secret that someone doesn't want me to find. I take a few steps back, start running toward the fence and leap onto it. It's a little scary climbing over something this tall, but I can't go back now. If there really is industrial waste here and I get ill, I'm going to feel so stupid. But I don't have to worry about that much longer. After walking farther down the path, I find a rudimentary swing hanging from a rotting tree. Not the kind of modern swing you'd see in a park. It looks handmade. A waste dump wouldn't have something like this. Only children would use this. Which is why I'm not at all surprised to see what looks like a Western church up ahead. That ruined building probably used to look impressive back when sunlight streamed down on it through the trees. But now it's just a ruin amidst dead trees. It looks more like a haunted house now. Still, this place doesn't feel creepy to me. Instead, it makes me think about those warm, happy days it saw in the past. I can see an abandoned slide and merry-go-round with vines all around it. Part of the wall surrounding the area has a mosaic of kids playing happily. I can also see traces of graffiti they scribbled and things they broke when they got overexcited. This is definitely Santa Ambrosia. And then I notice a rotting sign with that exact name on it. This is the orphanage where Kishida Ryugu and Asahi Haruka lived. I've never been here before, so I can't imagine how the children here lived back then. But it's safe to assume they had fun here. Maybe this sounds silly, but I wouldn't be surprised if some children suddenly started running around me, laughing and playing. If I cleared my ears, maybe I could hear the kids singing along to the matron's organ or kicking balls around the yard. That's the warmth I feel from this ruin, which makes the warnings on that last fence even stranger. How is this an industrial waste dump? I'm convinced that's not true. It's a fake warning to keep people from approaching this ruin. But why would someone not want people to come here? And does it have something to do with the Asahi Haruka story? I try entering the building, but of course it's locked. I can't bring myself to break any of the glass here. The building may be abandoned and rotting, but it still feels bright and cheerful to me. As I start looking for other entrances, I think back on the Asahi Haruka story. After she came here, all the children started getting sick. Most of them died and the orphanage was locked up. Was it a contagious disease, or was there actually some industrial waste here? Did the children not understand those things and blame it on Asahi Haruka because she was new? An orphanage where all the children died one by one, an illegal toxic waste dump. It's a reasonable guess given those two ideas. If that's the truth, then Asahi Haruka is blameless. All the doors on the main building are locked tight. All that's left is the chapel. I try that door too, but it's also locked. Is this seriously the end? Just as I think that, I notice a way in. There is a fallen tree going right through one of the stained glass windows in the chapel. The exposed part of the tree doesn't look that old, it might have fallen recently. I can see the inside of the chapel through the broken window. I don't know how long it's been abandoned, but it hasn't lost its grandeur yet. Something tells me I should go in there. This is Santa Brogia, Asahi Haruka's orphanage. This is where it all began. The chapel looks solemn and majestic with the sunlight pouring through the stained glass. It silently tells me people used to live an orderly life there. I'm here, Asahi Haruka. I finally found this place. Sorry, I said I surrendered, but I still felt like giving it another shot. And now here I am. That's probably the sound of cracks running through the stained glass. It's almost funny how predictably she answered. A refreshing wind passes by. I can feel that Asahi Haruka's here, even though she won't show herself yet. It doesn't bother me, because I figured something out about Asahi Haruka. I noticed there are framed pictures covering many of the pillars in here. Each one is a picture of several children. These were probably taken each year. 1 year per column. I can see new children arriving while the others get older and start smiling more. Then some leave and get replaced by other new children. These pictures tell the history of the orphanage. And this is the last one. The pillars after this one have nothing on them. This picture is the last one they took. I take the picture off the wall to get a better look at it, and I hear several things break and glass fall to the floor. Everyone finds it embarrassing when people look at old pictures of them. The date on the picture is from 8 years ago. 1 year before Kishida Ryugo died. Something happened to him here, which put him in the hospital for a year before he tried going back to school. A couple dozen children are in the picture. Some are smiling, some are expressionless, all of them unique. And at the bottom of the picture is a list of names. Kishida Ryugo. This chubby guy? Kishida Ryugo looks like the kind of boy who'd gladly eat all the girls' leftovers after lunch. And his bright smile tells me he was perfectly happy living here. And Asahi Haruka. More cracks in the stained glass. It's definitely her. She looks unhappy, and she has an old-fashioned bob cut. I found you, Asahi Haruka. When I say that, all the light bulbs hanging from the ceiling shatter at once. Some of the pieces land on me. As I brush them off, I can see the mark on my arm. I don't know any more if the curse is real or not. I've given up on investigating that, like I said yesterday. So, the reason I came here has nothing to do with discovering the truth behind the ghost story. I'm not here to prove or disprove the story, or to surrender to you in person. There's just something I have to tell you. I might have been able to tell her somewhere else, but it has to be here. If I say this anywhere else, she might not listen. Could you show yourself, Asahi Haruka? My question merely echoes on the high ceiling. I knew she'd ignore that. That's right, you're not Asahi Haruka anymore. Konohana Lucia. Class rep, you and Asahi Haruka are the same person. Say what? I hear a sound, like someone walking on gravel. She was hiding behind a pillar in the opposite corner of the chapel. Has she been following me all day, or has she been waiting here, knowing I would come? Either way, I was sure I'd find her here. I wanted to talk to you here. I was hoping being here might make you listen to me.
私が朝日はるか本人だと？どうして？
I found out from one of the phone calls.
岸田龍吾を除いて4年1組 OB に朝日はるかと面識のある人間はいないはず。
Yep, no one, but I was still able to prove it.
どうして？
There was one boy in that class who moved recently, so I couldn't call him the first time around.
その男子に連絡がつかないと、どうして私が朝日遥だということになるのか。
Not much. That wasn't what convinced me. The phone number wasn't important at all. The address was what really mattered.
意味がわからない。住所が何だと？
His address on the class list was out of date.
言われるまでもない。
Everyone from that class was afraid of the curse. It was impressive that the cursed girl bothered to visit each and every one of their homes. But she made a mistake.
ボロとは？
The boy who moved. Right now there's an old couple living in his old apartment. They have nothing to do with Asahi Haruka at all. But glass broke in the apartment too. Yoshino told me the guy's current phone number, so I called him there. And then I confirmed that no glass had broken for him at all. There's only one thing that could mean. All the glass breaking was done based on the old class list, with everyone's old addresses and phone numbers. If this was a genuine curse or vengeful spirit, it wouldn't make a mistake like that. A human did it, using outdated information, unaware that the last boy had moved. I don't know how she broke the glass in all their homes. Maybe she had some clever trick, or maybe she really was cursed. But it was definitely done by a human, namely you, Konohana Lucia. If she and Asahi Haruka are the same person, everything makes sense. 7 years ago, you were Asahi Haruka and you lived in this orphanage. But for whatever reason, this place was sealed up. You changed your name and moved somewhere else in Kasamatsuri. Then she probably went to school at the same elementary, middle and high school as Yoshino and the others. Whatever happened, it was bad enough to make you change your name. Of course you wouldn't want to remember that name or what happened here. Then 4 years ago, you just happened to hear that a boy from the newspaper club was going to ask Kishida Ryugo's class about Asahi Haruka so he could write an article about her. And you decided to stop him.
それで？
Asahi Haruka had become the subject of a ghost story because of Kishida Ryugo's mysterious death. If people kept talking about it, there was a chance someone would find out about you. So you decided to take advantage of the ghost story and scare everyone into never saying a word about it. Given how scared Yoshino, Baraki-senpai and the others are, she obviously did it very well. Then you hoped everyone would simply forget about the story. But then, 4 years later, another stupid boy appeared to investigate the story. Me, Tennoji Kotaro. I'm not sure if it was good or bad luck for you, but I happened to bring you along to make a copy of that contact list. And when you realized what I was copying, you knew you had to run around to everyone's homes to scare them again.
反論する。印刷室でお前は私が背を向けている間にとっととコピーを済まして退出したはずだ。私はお前が何をコピーしたのか知りもしない。
Exactly. It should be that simple. That's why it took me so long to suspect you. Yesterday, I went to the printing room again and asked Nishikujo-sensei about the copier some more. There was never a trick involved to begin with. You just used the copier.
使用。
A digital copier for business purposes. Unlike the copier in the convenience store, the data from what it copies remains in the machine until something else gets copied. So once you scan your paper once, even if you take it away afterward, it's easy for someone else to make the copier spit out another copy. I had no idea you were so naughty. You wanted to know what I was copying so badly that you pressed the reprint button before making your own copies. She probably didn't think much of it at the time. She assumed it would just reveal whatever stupid, crude prank Tennoji Kotaro was planning. But instead, she saw a list of students from year 4 class 1, which told her the story she thought she'd sealed away forever was about to be dug up yet again. After seeing that, you knew what I was trying to do. So you started trying to silence everyone again. You even gave me a creepy message later that same day. Don't wake me. That message was printed out by a perfectly functional copier.
西九条先生が見事な推理をしたはずだ。あのコピーは機械の不調とリサイクル紙のずさんな扱いが重なって起こった偶然に過ぎないと。
No, it was never as complicated as what she told us. You simply wrote that message there in the room, copied it, then handed it to me later. If class rep is the one responsible for all of this, then we don't need any curses or complicated tricks to explain what happened. If anything, Nishikujo-sensei completely misled me. That's right, if I had been firm in my conviction that curses can possibly exist, I would have realized very quickly that she must have done something. And my cell phone, I wanted to start calling people that night, but it broke.
災難だな。
You broke it.
言いがかりだな。証拠
No, but if you can break glass without touching it, I'm sure you can do something to my phone too. Besides, you have the motive.
聞こう。
There were just over 20 people in Class 1. You needed to buy some time in order to visit all their houses to scare them again. Class rep used the addresses on that class list to figure out where to go. She spent that night finding all 20 of them and breaking glass in each home. I'm impressed she went to that much trouble. But you made your mistake here. One of the boys had already moved, so you accidentally targeted an old couple that had nothing to do with this.
なるほど。確かに。本当にオカルトや呪いだったら、人違いはありえんな。
Once I realized you two were the same person, it became clear what you really meant when you were pretending to be possessed by Asahi Haruka. You were trying to stop my investigation and telling me how you really felt.
本音
Yeah, I wanted to give those feelings a serious answer, which is why I wanted to talk here. If we weren't here, you might not admit you're Asahi Haruka. This isn't the school, so I won't call you class rep anymore. Should I call you Haruka?
いや。ルチアで。はるかは忘れたいなだ。
Class rep admitted it. She acknowledged that she was once Asahi Haruka. What on earth happened here?
岸田龍吾が伝えたままだ。草木が枯れ果て、生き物は死に、人も同じ運命をたどった。
So, was the ghost story right to call you a vampire?
吸血鬼などではない。しかし、人間でもない。
Then what are you?
生まれた時は普通の人間だった。しかし、そうでないものに生まれ変わったのだ。それはひどく醜く、汚れた存在だった。
What is it?
未来の人類。
A future human? A what? Future human? What does that mean? I failed to understand her words and tilt my head instead. That's enough to make her look slightly dejected. My ignorance seems to have hurt her, but there's still no way for me to know what that means.
話したところでお前には分からん。だが、理解はしているはずだ。私には人間にはない力があること。
She can break glass without even touching it. That's definitely impossible for normal people. And she can make plants wilt, leave marks on people where she touches them, and even kill them. That's definitely not normal either. What the hell is Konohana Lucia?
質問に答えた。今度は天王寺が答える番だ。私の本音と言ったな。それは何か。
Ah, that. I meant the fact that you hate those powers. And that you lament the fact that no one can accept you as you are, instead calling you cursed. You always wear gloves to avoid leaving marks on people. And to prevent the tragedy at this orphanage from happening again, you act like a total clean freak and avoid physical contact with anyone. That's very sad. I have to spend my entire life alone, never touching anyone or anything. Because they'll die. No one in this world can accept our existence. No one can. Not a single person. Not one of them. That's what you said the other night at my house. That's how Konohana Lucia really feels. Lucia looks down and bites her lip. At the time, she was swept up by her emotions and said those things without thinking. Evidently, she didn't expect me to remember it. You have a very good reason to avoid contact with people. In that sense, arguably, it's true that there is a cursed girl named Asahi Haruka.
そうだ。私は呪われている。
In that you can't touch people?
そうだ。 普段は抑えることもできる。普通の人間に紛れて生活もできる。だが何かの間違いやきっかけ、あるいは体調でそれは全て破綻する。あの日もそうだった。
Until then, I had been living normally. I didn't even know I was cursed. But it was true that flowers wilted and goldfish died after I touched them. The boys picked on me for it, but I still believed it was just bad luck. I had no idea I really was cursed. One day, I developed a high fever. The matron watched over me until the doctor came.
そして私の手に触れ死んだ。私の手が殺したんだ。
That's not true. Don't say you killed her.
全てが滅び、元凶は私であることが知らされた。そして理解した。私はいてはならぬ呪われた存在なのだと。
I'd been told that all humans have a duty and a role to fulfill. As powerless as I was, I believed there would come a day when I could help the world.
しかし私は世のために何の役にも立てない存在となり果てていた。私の存在はただそれだけで人に害をなす。ただ私がいるだけで誰かを危険にさらす。私がいることが誰の救いにもならない。私が世の役に立つ方法は今すぐ死んでこの世から立ち去ることだけだった。
That's not true! As anyone in our class died, look at me! I'm still perfectly healthy. Me, Kotori, Chihaya, everyone in our class is a friend of yours. What would happen to our class if you weren't there? It'd become a lawless wasteland without you.
それは私が害をなさるように日々懸命な努力を重ねているに過ぎない。この手袋などそのうちのささやかな一つに過ぎん。気休め程度でしかない。
If I slacked off on any one of those things, the nightmare might become reality once again. I don't want all of our friends and teachers to die by my own hands again.
お前ら私に近づきすぎなんだ。天王寺小太郎、私に近づくな。触れようとするな。お前も全身に紫のあざを浮き上がらせて晴らせながら海をまき散らして死にたいのか。せめて私に優しくしてくれるお前を絶対にそうしないように。私がどれだけ悩んでいるか考えたことはあるのか。
I see. So that's why you always overreacted to me licking your plates?
ああ、それは違うぞ。女子なら正常な反応だ。
I can't touch anyone, but I might still be useful someday. Until then, I'll live alone. But for how long? When they cursed me, they said it would be 1,000 years in the future. Will it really take that long?
これまでも一人だった。これからも一人だ。いつまで一人で。私は1000年の後をもたった一人で生きていく定めを与えられたのだ。触れる者に死をもたらす私とは誰も。
I hold out an arm toward her. Not just to tell her to stop screaming. I've rolled up my sleeve to make the mark on my arm visible. I'm making sure she can see it. It's been aching for a while. Until yesterday I could ignore the pain, but after coming here, it's been throbbing constantly. It's also got much darker, almost as if someone spilled ink on me.
この敷地には私の毒が未だに濃く残っている。入れば健康を損なうと警告があっただろうに。
Lucia's poison. She was the source of the poison that caused all the plants to wilt and animals to die, but even after all these years, there's still enough of it here to kill people. I have been feeling a bit feverish for a while, as if I'd caught a cold. And my mark has gotten darker and more painful.
お前を病院へ収容する。当時とは違う。今は対応が早ければ治療は容易だ。
Is this poison?
そうだ。私の呪いであり、私の毒だ。
I look at my hand. Even my fingertips are turning purple now. I have touched several things here. Was that enough to put marks on my fingers too?
恐ろしいものだな。これだけの年月を経ても未だにそれだけの毒性があるというのか。
If it's this strong after all this time, then I think I can imagine how bad it was 7 years ago.
そのあざについては謝る。しかしそこまでしなかったらお前は調査をやめてくれないと思って。
I'm sorry.
え？
I'm sorry about this mark. Lucia apologized because the mark she made won't go away. But that's not what's bothering me. At first, she stares blankly, unsure what I mean. After all, I just apologized for having this mark. You probably meant this as a warning, but I think it was more than that. Weren't you hoping it wouldn't leave a mark this time? That's why. That night, when she saw it, she fell into despair again. She despaired because she knew her curse, her poison was still dangerous. That's why I can't forgive myself. I can't forgive my body for being so weak. If I was strong enough to survive your poison, if I was strong enough not to get this mark, you wouldn't have had to cry anymore. That's why I want to apologize.
それは天王寺が悪いわけじゃなくて。
Be quiet! Lucia swallows her words when I yell, as if I strangled her. All I want right now is silence, so I can concentrate. If a poison is what caused this mark, then it's inside my body right now, eating away at me. And I'm going to beat it.